Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Great Debaters Contest. We are in Nakuru and I am Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. Today we have a battle of the sexes for you with the ladies of Wanjohi Mixed going versus Anester boys. Their motion is on whether people with HIV and AIDS should be profiled for easy treatment. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Alan Gikonyo Mushina and I'm here to propose a motion that people with HIV and AIDS should be profiled to allow for easier treatment. Well, before I go to my points, there's some terms that should be explained for us to have a wider perception of this topic. What is HIV? HIV means human immunodeficiency virus. What is AIDS? AIDS means acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. What do we understand by should? Should is a verb that is used to show what should be done, what is right. And what is profile? What is to profile somebody? To profile means to bring to the limelight, bringing to the limelight. And what is to allow? Allow is to let somebody to do something. And what is treatment? Treatment is something done to cure an injury or illness, make somebody feel good. Well, HIV and AIDS was discovered in the year 1983. And up to date, it has killed so many people indeed. Now, on to my first point, an increase in scientific research and efforts. Now, we understand that when we have the actual statistics in our books, in our minds, of the people who are infected with HIV and AIDS, we can be able to cater for them. We can be able to even to produce the drugs so that they can be used. Allow me at this moment take you to the world of mathematics, statistics, I may call it so. 1.6 million people in Kenya, 1.6 million people in Tanzania, 1.2 million people in Zimbabwe, and 970,000 people in Zambia, according to statistics by UNAIDS, in 2011 suffer from HIV and AIDS. Well, this is an alarming number. Alarming number. Why do I say so? Because the UN says this number could be double or triple. Who knows? But then the government all over the world has come together and is helping these people living with HIV and AIDS. So I believe by bringing these people to the limelight, it will be good for them rather than the worse. To my second point, government planning, unity and support. Now, early this year, we set a trip to Nyahururu. For those who've never been there, it is in Laikipia County, Laikipia and Nyandarua County. And we went to a home called Ephatha. Ephatha is a home established. It has been established by Saint Martin, a branch of the Catholic Church. And it takes care of the children whose parents died of HIV and AIDS. Can you see, everybody, can you see what the society can do? The society has come together and is working is helping to work to help these people who have been affected by AIDS. In a nutshell, what I'd like to say is that having the HIV and AIDS is not a curse. It's not a disease. It's not a sin. It's just a condition. They, like anybody else on earth, have a right, a responsibility to make their lives better and even impact in the society. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your opening statements.
Once the people begin to reason, all is lost. Wamboi Naomi, Wanjohi Mixed Secondary School. I'm strongly opposing the motion that says people with HIV and AIDS should be profiled for easy treatment. Okay, according to me, profiling means this is an impression that somebody or something gives to the public and the amount of attention that they receives. On to my first point is that profiling is an additional cost to the government. And this is because, as we all know that the government of Kenya nowadays incurring the cost of the Anglo leasing debt. So if we say that we are going to profile these people, so the government will have another cost, will have another additional cost on top of what it's experiencing, because we all know that government is freely offering ARVs to the victims with HIV and AIDS. And to my second point, we need civic education and not keeping the records for the victims. This is simply because when we are all educated, we do learn how to live with these people, and not by keeping their records of how many people are just infected, and yet we are not helping them. So I think they should not be profiled because we can just be educated. Thank you.
We'll now hear rebuttals. Proposition, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Eliud Mwenga from Anester Boys High School, Lanet. And I'd like to contradict with my opponent. She said that we should not profile people because the government it will cost the government more. Do we think of ourselves, or do we think of those people who are affected? Do we have that passion for people to live longer? If we have that instinct in our hearts, if we have that little humanity, we will not say that it will cost much, but we will save lives. The meaning here, we are profiling these people so as to save their lives, to increase their lifespan until when something or a cure or a better vaccine will be found. We are not here to think about ourselves. We are not here to say that money is the problem. We have world organizations that give us funds. These funds, we don't repay them. And how can you manage them? This is we have good government leaders. Good leaders. If we have good leaders, all these funds are given by the World Health Organization, by the CDC, the Center of Disease and Control Prevention. We'll utilize them. So there's no thing like the government will not have funds. We are given funds with World Organization. I'd like to say, it is high time we think of our loved ones. It is high time we consider our people. It is high time we take part, us as a world and as a Kenyan, to join forces and help the government and help our people to bring this deadly virus down. And this is how we'll profile them. And I can go to my first point, eradication and cutting of drug and corruption. We are given funds, we buy drugs. The government only knows few people. Like in Kenya, we have 1.6 million people. And it is estimated another 1.6, or almost to the number, is almost affected by HIV, and the government does not know. So if the government gives the ARVs to the people they are known to them, then the remaining, or the ones they came with excess, the government officials take that part and take them to private hospitals and dispensaries where they sell them with high cost. Meaning what? If we profile these people, we'll know how many people are there, and it will help us to reduce the eradication of drug cartelling and corruption. Thank you.
Opposition will now hear your rebuttal. You also have 3 minutes.
My name is Somboy Purity from Wanjohi Mixed Secondary School. I like starting by asking my fellow colleague. He has just said that it's as if we are getting funds we are getting funds. I'm taking it this way. He is just considering those people with HIV and AIDS only. He is not considering other people with other diseases, just like cancer and other many diseases. We are not supposed to. It's as if we are favoring them because we are giving too much attention at the expense of other people who has got other diseases. On to my first point, profiling brings victimization
To those infected, since there is stigma associated with HIV positive, this can result to suicide. For an example, I'm a student in Form 4. Let's say 2 months before I do the exams, I've gone and I've tested HIV positive. Do you think I'll sit down on doing my exams, concentrating on my exams, knowing that surely I'm a HIV positive victim? Not very many of us accept that we are HIV positive victims. Very less of us who expect they are HIV victims. On to my second point. Profiling those infected with HIV for easy treatment will be going against the new constitution, since every citizen has got equal rights according to the chapter 6 of the constitution. This is like we are favoring them, because every citizen is supposed to have equal rights. They are being provided with HIV and AIDS, with ARVs for free, other supplements, and yet you want to reduce their cost. Then we are giving them too much. On to the other point, he has just said about the government requesting for more for the drugs and other doctor sellings. I'm taking it this way. Imagine I'm a HIV positive victim. I go to, let's say, 3 horses, and each horse I'm being given the ARVs. Some of them I use them as my medication. The others I use them as drugs to make like changa. Thank you.
I've been using M-Pesa for 3 years now, and M-Pesa, it's easy to access, it's easy to initiate, and the services are also good.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
The debaters on stage will be responding to the audience questions in a short while. The proposition have been asked, doesn't profiling HIV and AIDS victims encourage discrimination against them? And the opposition have been asked, if we do not profile people with HIV and AIDS, how do we distribute ARVs and other helpful medication? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes.
I'm Mesha Kirui from Anester Boys Lanet. First and foremost, I want to tackle the question which has been asked with my fellow colleague, that people are going to be profiled with HIV and AIDS. It's like being discriminated. I want to tell you that being profiled does not mean that you're going to be discriminated, but it's going to create awareness so that the government and other people can come together and be able to help you. So we are not going to create the issue of discrimination or segregation, but it's a matter of identifying those people who are sick so that we can be able to treat them. So, on to my first point. We find that the government has invested heavily to this issue of people are suffering from HIV and AIDS. And most people are not benefiting. The people who are living with HIV and AIDS are not benefiting from those drugs. This is only because the drugs which are intended for the people who are sick, there's some people have come up together and have taken those drugs and use them in unintended purposes. So when you're going to provide these people the good numbers, the government will be able to come up with a plan. They know that a certain number of specific people are suffering from this disease, and they're able to plan for them. Also, from today's newspaper, The Star, if I can just quote what has been stated there by Ms. Kilonzo. She says that our zone fact sheet on natural HIV prevalence shows 16% of the total number of people who are suffering from HIV and AIDS are adolescents and the youth between the age of 15 and 24 years. Those figures are likely to rise if proper HIV/AIDS awareness is not done, of course. This means what? When you're going to profile these people suffering from HIV and AIDS, we are going to create awareness to people that HIV is real. They need to protect themselves. So by profiling, by giving the numbers, the figures of the people who are suffering from HIV and AIDS, will enable us to create awareness to the public To those people marginalized from marginalized areas, the likes of Samburu, the likes of Turkana, those people do not know much more about this disease. So when you profile, the government carries civic education to them. It's going to help us try to cope up with this situation. Also, America, as we know, it got its independence in the year 1776, around 2 centuries behind. But we find out that in some states like the South California, Alabama, and Mississippi, in their prisons, those people who are infected with HIV and AIDS, they are not put in the prison with the people who are healthy. This has enabled people, those people who are not infected, to be able not to contract these diseases. So, being the profiling of those people who are suffering with HIV and AIDS, it has enabled the spread or the control of the spread of these diseases. So, it's a high time that we need to look for the best way of controlling this disease, instead of trying to look for the loopholes, and try to come together, create awareness to our community, try to speak to our people so that they can control this disease. And I do hope that if we want to climb the ladders of success, we need to remove the costumes of failure so that we can realize a good nation and a prosperous nation. Thank you so much.
Opposition, you also have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
If this is dying, I don't think much of it. Answering the question that was posted, they asked, if at all these HIV people will not be profiled, then how will the ARVs be distributed? Well, the government is now providing. Without the profiling, the government already provides. So, even if we profile, we don't profile, the government still provides for these victims, since they go for tests, and whenever they are tested positive, the government tries to offer them the ARVs. Whenever this profiling is done, dependency on the government will rise. Why? Simply because the government will start offering supplements to these people. They'll offer free ARVs to these people. They are offering, on top of the ARVs, they are offering them supplements like the diet. This will lead to the victims depending more on the government rather than working for themselves. Hence, the victims will not even be able to work. They will care less about their lives simply because they know that the government has them in mind. To my second point, instead of profiling the victims of HIV and AIDS, what I think is that the government should lower or should subsidize on the basic commodities of the victims. Why? Simply because we have other people who have got other diseases. We have people who have cancer, yet the government is not providing free medication for them. Therefore, instead of profiling these people and concentrating much on the people, the government should instead lower the subsidies that they are already offering to these victims. My colleague started by saying the profiling of HIV and AIDS victims will increase will incur much cost to the government. We already have an Anglo-leasing debt. Therefore, by profiling these people, the government will have an additional cost for offering these ARVs. Therefore, they'll be able, or the government will have an extra cost, an extra debt by requesting for these ARVs. Not the whole country is infected with HIV and AIDS. So whenever profiling is done, others will be affected. Whenever an area is known that this area has got a higher percentage of HIV and AIDS victims, others will be affected, leading to low development in the part of the country. Thank you.
We'll now hear closing submissions. Proposers, you have 1 minute.
HIV and AIDS is real. HIV and AIDS is a menace. HIV and AIDS does not know age. It kills the old. It kills the young. It kills the poor. It kills the rich. It kills the literate. It kills the illiterate. It kills people living in urban centers and the rural centers. Allow me quote what was once said by Mother Teresa. That the feeling of being unloved, that feeling that you feel you're not accepted, that feeling that you're alone, it is much more worse even than poverty. I'm only asking this. It's not a matter of the great debaters. This is an international issue. This is a continental issue. This is a national issue. Well, I'm asking the opposers and everybody who is watching us, please help us to help those who are infected. Because if you're not infected, then in one way or another, you are affected. Thank you.
Opposition, you also have a minute for your final submission.
I'm Lucy Wanjiru. Profiling has done more harm than good, simply because we have other people who have serious illnesses like cancer, yet the government is not concentrating much on them. We have, yes, HIV and AIDS, but then what about the other victims who are infected, who have got cancer? How about them? Please, my opponents, we better come together. Instead of concentrating much on the HIV and AIDS victims, let's concentrate on the whole country. Let's concentrate on the whole public. Everybody has got his or her own problems. We have others with cancer. We have others with HIV and AIDS. We have others with different diseases. Please cross the boundary, come and let us join hands and refuse this profiling of HIV and AIDS victims. Thank you.
Anester boys, Alan, you're very confident. When you come to the stage, we can tell that you're there, Your mastery of language is okay. And even your ending, when you come to finalize, I mean, you're quite engaged in the motion. And when you tell us that if you're not infected, you're affected. And that is quite true all across for everybody to know. Eliud, good attempt. You're also very confident as well. Fair mastery of topic. However, you're supposed to cross-examine your team. Remember that as a cross-examiner. So you need to delve much time looking at the weaknesses of the opponents. I love your point about curtailing the fake drugs and corruption when it came to bring on board why we need to profile these particular patients or the persons affected with HIV and AIDS. And that's purely trying to tell us that we'll be able to curtail the fake drugs that end up going to patients and they end up even becoming worse from where they are. Meshach, good attempt as well. Just check on your coherency and flow of argument and you'll make a better team member for your team.
Wanjohi mixed. Naomi, again, your first statement as a debater is very important. Your first statement was, once people begin to reason, all is lost. And my question is, how is it tied to the motion? So we should not reason, and you went ahead to reason. So I think our introduction should be relevant. There is what we call attention raiser, so to speak. Things that will get our attention as listeners and we follow you to the end. I think you lost me at that particular point, and my question throughout your presentation was, what was the point? You didn't utilize your time. I believe stage fright. The same applies to purity, stage fright. But Lucy tried, and I think she was fighting alone to support the team. You said a lot of interesting things, which I agree with, and some could be challenged, as it has been observed. The issue about ARVs, there's some questions that could be raised. And also the issue that you raised, why just profile people with HIV and AIDS? Why not people with other patients with terminally ill diseases? I believe that's the question that you are raising to your opponents. Yeah, it is true. At the same time, it could not be true because it was not very convincing. To the two teams, there is a lot we can do to improve.
Wanjohi Mixed Secondary School. The judges awarded you 49%. Please give them a round of applause. Our winners, Anester boys, Lynette. The judges awarded you 59%. Please give them a round of applause.
We congratulate Anester boys, and of course we hope that in the future we get to see more debates from both teams. We'd like to thank all of you for watching, and of course we'd also like to thank our sponsors, Safaricom M-Pesa, and we'd also like to thank KBC Channel 1. Follow us on Twitter @GreatDebatersEA, and I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.